Blog Talk Radio.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday. It's a throwdown, and this is the show that circles the wagons, the American Sports History Podcast, hosted by a brother, a mentor, and a friend to me, Peter Ray. He's live in Cleveland, Ohio. Yours truly, Mark Mancini, producing 2,500 miles to the west in Los Angeles. 347-205-9631. If you happen to lose it for 30 minutes, we realize it goes by fast. Catch it on the archive version, blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports, podcast platforms, wherever you subscribe to podcast powered now by Mancini Media. So without further ado, it's more of him, less of me. Let me lay the red carpet down, put the podium in its place, hand off the mic. Peter the Threes, how are you? How can people get a hold of you? And this gentleman was throwing in the bullpen about 100 miles an hour, warming up. Bill North came up short with COVID tonight. Prayers and thoughts are with him, but Ralph Williams going to fill his shoes, and man, oh man, I'm going to sit back, man the boards, and let you two take it away.
Hi, Mark. I'm doing well. I have a YouTube channel. It's my name, Peter J. REA. You're absolutely right. Tonight's guest, second time. He's got a tremendous podcast, sports podcast career going. Really something. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ralph Williams.
Thank you, Peter Ray. It's great to be here. It's great to be filling in for a legend like Bill North. Sorry to hear that he had COVID tonight, and it's great to be here. I could be reached at ralphwilliams737@gmail.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter X, and I have my own YouTube channel as well. And I have a radio show on Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM, 12:30 a.m., which I just finished just about an hour ago. And it's called Sports Corner with myself and Smoking Jim Frazier. And we had a very good show tonight. It was very busy. We had Artie Source on from Galaxy Sports and Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune. So it's great to be here tonight, Peter. What's going on tonight?
You have, can you tell us about the different podcasts that you're involved with?
Yeah, I also, on Wednesday nights, Mark Mancini and I are involved in, with Peter Blake on the Sports Web podcast on YouTube and Facebook at 10:30. We do a segment called Turnbuckle Talk. We talk professional wrestling. And then on Thursday nights, I have a show here on Blog Talk Radio. It's usually at 7:30 p.m., but this Thursday we're on at 5:30 p.m. It's called Wrestle Talk with myself, Mark Mancini, Bubba Brewer, and Smoking Jim Frazier. On Fridays at 11 a.m., we have a show here called the External Bum Podcast. We talk about bums in sports and other sports topics. It's me, Ralph Williams, Joe Kuglis from Draft 412, who has a show here coming up at 9 o'clock. And then also we have Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune. That's a great show. It's on Friday mornings, 11 a.m. for 30 minutes. And then Saturday, I have a broadcast at 10:30 called Telling It Like It Is, 10:30 a.m. Saturday mornings with myself and Leo Haggerty, Leo from Amped Up Sports. And we talk general topics, and then we talk sports as well. It's a mix. It's a 30-minute show. And then on Monday nights, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter platforms, I have a show called The Way We See It. It's with me, Ralph Williams, and Bill Canada, and we talk it like the way we see it. And then I have a show that I do. It's an interview show, Peter. I haven't done it for a little bit, but I will be back soon with it. It's called Ralph Williams One-on-One. It's an interview show. I do it on your time. Like if I was going to have you come on, it would be on your time. So whenever you're available, and that's on once in a while, and that's not a bad show. And then Sundays, I do a Steeler post-game show only for the afternoon games. I do a post-game show. It's myself, Ralph Williams, and Steve Spates, who's an old friend of mine from Pittsburgh here, from Niagara Falls, New York. So I'm involved in a lot of things and a lot of projects. So Thursday night at 9:30, I'm on the South Florida Tribune on a show called Fire Up with Scott Morganroth and George Eichhorn. So I do a lot of things, Peter. I get invited on a lot of podcasts. I've been on with Bubba Brewer on a Steeler podcast here in Pittsburgh and several other podcasts and radio shows and things like that.
That's really something, all the stuff you got going on. I'm impressed, and I give you credit for all of that. I thought, sure, really outstanding work, very impressive. Now, I wanted to talk tonight of the topic of the 1970s Pittsburgh Pirate players, because the Pirates were, I'm always thinking of the 70s and MLB mostly, and the Pirates were one of the best teams of the 70s. That's why it's hard for me to, I know they haven't been they've had some tough years since then, but so anyway, I'll give you one name at a time, starting with Manny Sanguillen. What do you remember about Manny Sanguillen?
Oh, great backup catcher. Do you know, Peter, he never had to get up and throw the ball. He would stay at his knee squat position and throw the ball and always get somebody out. He was the only one in the league that could do it at that time.
Okay, Dave Cash.
I don't know much about Dave Cash.
Okay.
I don't know much about him at all.
Richie Hebner.
Oh, yeah, Richie Hebner, backup utility player. Great guy. Plays some great infield positions, good bat, good locker room guy. He played first base, third base, outfield. So he was good. He was backup catcher. So, I mean, he played like multiple positions. It was great. He was a good player. He helped us out in the 79 World Series. Willie
Stargell.
Of course, Willie Stargell was a great home run hitter and first baseman. Willie has a statue outside of PNC Park. Him, Roberto Clemente, and Honus Wagner have statues. Willie Stargell, Peter, was one of the best home run hitters of that era of the 70s. And it's just sad that his knees were too bad that in the early 80s he had to retire.
Al Oliver.
Al Oliver, another good infielder and outfielder, utility player. The Pirates in the 70s, Peter, they really had a lot of different players who were utility guys. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there were a lot of guys who were utility players, and they contributed big time.
Okay, Richie Zisk.
Yeah, Richie Zisk was a good player. He really was. It was good a way another utility player could play multiple positions. But anyway, I got something for you, Peter.
Sure,
and,
sure.
This joke wouldn't be said if it was in the 70s, because that's when the Pirates were great in the 70s. Okay, there was this kid. He was in divorce court, Peter, and the judge says to the kid, "Son, I can't make my mind up who I want you to live with, your mommy or your daddy." And the kid says, "Your Honor, I don't want to live with either one of them. They both beat me." And then the judge says, "Well, son, you got to live with somebody." And he says, "I want to live with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They don't beat anybody."
Okay. Good one. Richie Zisk.
Yeah. Good utility player. Excellent. I think he was a pitcher, too, a little bit, too. He did a lot. He was a good player.
Rennie Stennett.
Rennie Stennett, I tell you what. Rennie Stennett was a fast guy. He played shortstop and second base. He also could steal bases quite a lot. He was a good player.
Dave Parker.
My man, the Cobra. We used to call him the Cobra. And Dave Parker, I'll never forget that All-Star game where he just literally, from the back wall of wherever the All-Star game was at the time, just took that ball and just threw it and got the guy out at home plate. His arm was so strong, Peter. Nobody would run bases. If they had like a base hit, they wouldn't even try to go for second because they knew how strong his arm was.
Roberto Clemente.
Well, here's a guy who was the only player, I think, in Pirate history that actually played in 2 World Series. He was in the 60 World Series and he was in the 71 World Series. It's sad what happened to him. I think he would have played for a while, but it was sad about him being involved in that plane crash. He was trying to do some good stuff for his country, and I don't blame him for that. And one of the greatest players I think of all time. I think when Roberto Clemente Day across the Major League Baseball, everybody should wear 21, not just the Pirates.
Have you watched any of these shows, baseball seasons on the different years MLB put out? You ever watched any of those?
No, I haven't watched that, Peter.
They're really.
I don't really get into baseball much, Peter. I do for the Pirates, but I get into it towards like the playoffs and World Series. During the year, I really don't get much into it. Otherwise, I've baseball sort of lost a little bit because of, the richer teams got more money. But now you're starting to see some small market teams like Houston and Tampa Bay, and some of these teams start to really get into the playoffs, into the World Series. And, so it's starting to get back to being a little bit exciting again. We'll see.
Yeah, I was watching the baseball season since 1971, and Roberto Clemente was MVP of the World Series. Pittsburgh won, and the funny thing, Bob Prince, after the Game 7, he said, you gave him the MVP, and Clemente spoke to the crowd. He called him Bobby, which was funny. And then Clemente spoke in Spanish for a while, talking to his parents directly, asking God to bless them, and so I thought that was cool, that getting some Spanish language on live TV. So that was. Would you say that you were more of a Steelers fan in the 70s than Pirates?
No, a little bit of both. My grandfather, when I was younger, got me into sports heavily. Pirates, Steelers, Penguins, Pitt Panther football. I got into sports. I've been into sports forever. Played a little bit of football when I was in high school, my freshman and sophomore year. I didn't really get into basketball much until I got into the Boy Scouts, because we used to have a basketball program on Tuesday nights where we would have a gym and we would play basketball. And I was taught how to play basketball by a black man, and it was nice because I didn't know how to play basketball. I was completely clumsy, and he taught me how to do all different types of things, and it was nice for him to do that, and I became a pretty decent basketball player.
Who were your favorite sports heroes when you were a boy?
All right, let's start with, I'm going to say Dan Marino from Pitt. I'm going to say probably Terry Bradshaw.
Well, tell us about Dan Marino.
Oh, I watched Dan Marino play his junior year, and I was sad. The one game they played, they lost to Notre Dame 48-14. Unfortunately, I had to watch that game. But Dan Marino was a great college player. He was great in the pros too. I know this is a fact because I have friends in high places here, and I know it for a fact that there was some involvement with Dan Marino in substance abuse when he was in college at Pitt, and the Steelers were hesitant to take him, and that's why they did not take him. And that's why he dropped so far in the draft, is too. There were some rumors going around. In fact, I was told it was a fact, actually, that he had a little bit of a drug problem. And I don't know if that's true, but I'm just saying what I've been told, and I've been told from some prominent people too. So it was sad to see him go to Miami and not be picked by the Steelers. But I like Dan Marino. I grew up with Willie Stargell, Dave Parker, Chuck Tanner, the early Pirates. I liked all them guys. So the Steelers is. I actually got to meet Franco Harris in person and Rocky Bleier, and I used to be Mike Webster's personal cab driver when I drove a cab. Under sad circumstances.
Webster was, he died, right? Died fairly young?
Yeah, he died. I think he was around 60 years old. I used to be his cab driver, and unfortunately, I was taking him down to West Virginia to go pick up pain pills. Because he was telling me he couldn't get them here in Pittsburgh. Okay. And he had a doctor down there that was giving him pain pills.
Okay.
He told me about all the concussions he had. He told me about how his brain was messed up from the hits and everything, and how he has blackouts at times and things like that. He was a nice guy. He was nice to talk to, and he told me some stories about Chuck Noll. He told me some stories about the Steelers that I probably would have, he wouldn't have probably shared with nobody else. but he shared it with me. And it was sad here about the concussion thing there, Peter. Not only did we have Mike Webster die, Terry Long, two of our offensive linemen died because of concussion problems. Terry Long killed himself. He drank antifreeze. And then Justin Stralzik, he killed himself too. He was another one. He was in that. Their names were mentioned in that movie Concussion with Will Smith. That was filmed here in Pittsburgh. That's based on a true story.
Yeah, that's really something. When you're a fan, I've been watching NFL highlights films by the years going back to the early 70s. I'm up to 2005, and just watching it's kind of troubling because all these hits and these guys are getting hurt. And it's kind of being an NFL fan is a troubling thing, I think, because you're watching something where guys really are getting hurt, and but we continue watching, and of course now they get paid a lot, and it's good if they can quit earlier so they don't their health isn't ruined for the rest of their life.
If you notice, Peter, a lot of these athletes are now leaving early, 6, 8 years, 10
right.
years maybe.
Right.
I remember when they used to go, like Mike Webster, he played like 16, 17 years.
Right.
Guys, the rarity right now is you got Cam Hayward, who plays for the Steelers, defensive lineman. He's been with us for 12 years, but I don't know how many more years he has left. He's been with the Steelers for 12 years. And you don't see that anymore, especially running backs, guys like that. They're quitting like 6, 8 years. And, it's just the abuse of your body and for that now. And now they're telling these athletes to save their money because Mike Webster, he was broke. He was homeless. He was living in a Greyhound bus station.
Right.
I mean, and a lot of these guys, all the way from professional wrestlers all the way down to the football player, down to the baseball player and everything else, these guys, they blow their money on drugs and alcohol and buy real estate that's not going to sell, and they get in bad business. Their money's being treated by an accountant who steals. I mean, it's big time thing. And now some of these athletes, I think, are starting to get a little smarter, and they're saving their money and balancing it and banking it better than they did in the past. I've seen that. I'm seeing it now.
Is Terry Bradshaw on better terms with the Steelers now?
I think he is, ever since he was put into the Hall of Honor. We have a Hall of Honor here in Pittsburgh at Acrisure Stadium. It's almost as big as the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, Peter. It's like its own wing of Steelers guys. And ever since then, yes, he has. He's more content now. He's the bitterness is gone. Troy Polamalu has had a better relationship with the Steelers. Bad breakup when he retired. A lot of guys. Ben Roethlisberger will even tell you it was a pretty bad breakup too, with the Steelers. So, the Steelers are known as the team, the other America's team like Dallas, but when it's time to retire, they just kind of throw you out in the wash,
How about the Homestead Grays Negro League baseball team?
Yeah, we still celebrate that here, Peter. In fact, we have a bridge we used to have called the Homestead High Level Bridge, and they turned it into the Homestead Grays Bridge. That's very big here as far as celebrating it, back the history of it. They even have the Pirates and the opposing team that they're playing dress up for one or two games in Homestead Grays outfits, and whoever the teams that they used to play, the other team would dress up in the other opposing team's outfits or uniforms. It's actually quite nice how they keep that going.
The Steelers really, I would say, are the greatest NFL. It's incredible how they've really been so successful, and I think for the past 50 years there isn't a better team. And to me, it just shows that the Rooneys are a good family. That's what you need. And they're patient and they're good people. And look at you guys only have had 3 since Chuck Noll. only 3 coaches. It's 50, and that's 50 years, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you had Bill Cowher, who was in Cleveland, and now this. Can't think of. My short-term memory is poor. I remember.
It's Chuck
the current
Noll,
coach, huh?
The coach before Chuck Noll was Buddy Parker, and then it was Chuck Noll, and then it was Bill Cowher, and now it's Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin, yeah. So just 3 guys. It's and Cleveland, we've had a zillion coaches because we haven't had that. We haven't had a good family. There's Artman, and so that's to me that's where it comes from, because you got to. There's people are impatient. You have these businessmen. They think, oh, I'll buy a team, and they don't know that it's winning a Super Bowl. Just because you have an NFL team doesn't mean you're going to win the Super Bowl. Even though, because unlike in business, if you can probably succeed. And these guys have succeeded, and pro sports is different. And then we didn't win the World Series. Well, only one team's going to win out of 30. So the odds are bad, and then they're impatient, and so they fire. They make these changes, and then that's what we've been doing in Cleveland. But you guys haven't done that because the Rooneys have had that patience, and they've and so I take my hat off to the Rooney family. It's just I think that's the key. And of course if you're a fan and you have fans, you have a lousy owner, and what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do because you're a fan. You just got to live with it. But hopefully, if you get a good owner who's got kids and a good fan, then you're going to be in good shape for a long time.
Hey, how about like not just your team there in Cleveland, Peter? How about the Houston Texans? How many coaches they've been through? How about some of these other teams? I mean, and some of them have had some good retreaded coaches that were good in other teams and then came to their team and didn't do anything. Look right now with Carolina with Frank Reich. Frank Reich was a good coach in Indianapolis, kind of worn out his welcome a little bit. Now he's at Carolina and they won a game. So, I mean, it's sometimes things can get a little bit, different when they move to other teams. And for the way some of these owners pull the plug on these coaches is just ridiculous. I mean, heck, Houston Texans had Dave Cawley down there. He was there for one season, and then they fired him. And then they brought in Lovie Smith, and they fired him after one season. It was like the one-season coach down there. So I hope that this Miko Ryans can stay there a little more than one season, at least,
It's like Terry Francona. I read his book, and he won 2 World Series for the Red Sox. And of course, if you win a World Series or a Super Bowl, it's the great and most powerful drug. It's this high, and then you want it every year, and you're not going to get it. I mean, it's very rare to get more than like multiple championships. So then, and the thing is, the fans are really put a lot of pressure on owners, and the owners really need to be oblivious to that, because the fans are tend to be because we're all impatient. We're, as sports fans, we're living through these teams, and which is unhealthy, but it's what we do. And then like this, Mark brought up the last Sunday's game. The Browns beat who was it? Browns won last Sunday. It was just agony.
The 49ers.
It was agony, and but after the game was over, I was just sick from the stress, So to me, being a fan, and you get to what are the chances? You're going to be disappointed. So it's just a horrible. To me, being a sports fan is a terrible thing that we've gotten into. But and hopefully, as we get older, we can mellow out and just be winners in our own lives. And accept defeat, and just say, all right, just like my wife always says, let's focus on our activities. So I think it's all very interesting.
Oh, it is. It's very interesting. And, the fans pay the bills, Peter. I mean, they're the ones to fork out the freight to come to games. And, you have all this advertising dollars now out there, and you got all this money out there. The Benjamins is what's carrying this over. Something that makes a good football franchise or any kind of a team is good scouting, good coaching, and a good front office. And if you don't have any of that, those are the 3 components to having a winning team. And if you don't have any of that, you might as well hang it up.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
so who?
I don't care what sport you're in.
So Terry Bradshaw is another one of your childhood heroes.
Yes, absolutely. I like
talk
the
about
defensive
him?
guys.
Huh?
Well, I like the defensive guys too, like Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood. I like those guys too. But Bradshaw, what I liked about him was he was just, no matter how much Chuck Noll wrote him or what Chuck Noll yelled at him or called him all kinds of names like a stupid hillbilly or something, he still went out there and played the game and did it well. He was a really good quarterback. Chuck Noll at the time was a great coach. They called him the Emperor here for a long time. Never had a press conference. Never did any interviews. Didn't have a coach's show. I mean, he kept everything quiet. You didn't know what the Steelers were going to do every week, and it was a nice situation. I like Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood from them 70 teams. A bunch of them guys. Jack Lambert was my most favorite. I love Jack Lambert, especially every last game, Peter. The last game of the season, regardless if the Steelers were in the playoffs or not, he would argue with the officials and get ejected.
Okay.
He would. He'd argue with the officials and purposely get ejected. So,
yeah, I remember well the '70s Steelers and Roy Gerela. Gerela's Gorillas. The fans wearing gorilla outfits. That was funny.
I'm going to let you know a little bit of a secret. I happen to be best friends with the founder of Franco's Italian Army, Al Vento.
Okay, there you go. Franco's Italian Army. What an amazing organization.
Yeah,
really tremendous.
With that family.
Are they still Are they still going?
Junior, he's in the 60s now. He says he's not sitting out in the cold anymore, so he hasn't gone for a while. He was invited for Franco Harris's induction into the Hall of Honor, and they were going to retire his jersey, and as you know, he passed away. And El Vento Jr., I had him on my Ralph Williams one-on-one show, and like I said, I'm best friends with the family. The Vento family, and I tell you what, it's great to be affiliated with them. When Al Vento, who created Franco's Italian Army, passed away, I got to meet Franco at the funeral home, and I got to meet Rocky Bleier too.
But do they still have a section in the stadium where there's Franco's Italian Army in the seats?
No, not anymore.
Okay.
Like I said, El Jr. and the rest of the family there, they didn't really want to carry it on.
Right. So. Well, it's been how many years since Franco Harris played, so that's kind of understandable. Steelers were tremendous in the sun. Bradshaw was so big and strong and could throw the ball long and hard to bring down. He could scramble and. Tremendous team. Lynn Swann and all those guys. And
I got to meet Lynn Swann, too. He was running for governor. He was running for governor here in Pennsylvania, and I was working at the downtown Marriott as a van driver, and I came back with the van, and I got out of the van to go into the hotel, and I see Lynn Swann, and I shook hands with him, and at the time he was a partner involved in a arena football team called the Pittsburgh Power. And he was there for that, and then at the same time he was running for governor. So,
our guest has been Mr. Ralph Williams, who has all kinds of things going on in podcasts. Do you have any final words for our audience tonight, Ralph, about your work?
Wow, man, this half hour went quick, didn't it, Peter? Oh my gosh, I just looked at my clock and I said, wow, we only got a couple minutes. No, I don't have anything else to add. I do appreciate you having me on tonight, though. Like I said, I just got done doing my radio show, which I do every Tuesday. Everyone can catch it. It's live on Beaver County Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel. It's Tuesday, 5 to 6 p.m., live. Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier. We have local guests from newspaper reporters and some other athletes and stuff like that. And we also have national guests. I've had Artie Source on from Galaxy Sports, Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune. I've had Leo Haggerty from Amped Up Sports. So there's a lot of guys that I've had on, and I'm going to continue to have some more coming on. In December, I'm having Cornelius Brad Hanna come on to talk because we're playing the Arizona Cardinals. You know, I have a guy who's on who has a national podcast. He had me on last year when we played New England, and we're playing New England again this year, and I'm having him come on. His name's Steve Baldessari. He does he covers New England Patriots. So I've had great relationships with a lot of national people, including yourself, Peter.
Oh, thanks, Ralph. We've had our guest on the show tonight has been Mr. Ralph Williams talking Pittsburgh sports, the Pirates and Steelers. Thanks so much, Ralph, for a wonderful interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again. I can be reached RalphWilliams737gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, X platform, and also on Facebook. And I have my own YouTube channel. And I have my own website, www.rwmedia.org.
Wonderful. Very good. Tremendous. Next week on our show, we're going to have Glenn Wilson, who played Major League Baseball from 1982 to 1993 with the Detroit Tigers, Philadelphia Phillies, Seattle Mariners,
I remember
Pirates,
Glenn Wilson, man.
And Houston Astros. Okay, yeah, he's going to be on next week. In 2 weeks, we'll have Bill North, a starting center fielder and leadoff hitter from the coolest MLB team of all time, the Oakland A's from the early 1970s. Dear listener, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Good night again, everybody. Thanks so much, Mr. Ralph Williams.
Have a good night. Thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank you.
Ah, feel the whoa with Listerine at BJ's. You can save $2.50 now on Listerine products like Total Care Anti-Cavity Fluoride Fresh Mint Mouthwash or Cool Mint Pocket Packed Fresh Breath Strips at your nearest BJ's location. Experience the feeling of a million germs zapped in seconds with Listerine. Discount available through December 24th. Save now, only at BJ's.
Ever notice what happens when your home is beautifully organized? You have more space, more room to breathe. At California Closets, our designers know just what questions to ask to create exactly what you want. Your personalized experience includes custom design and installation to deliver a result that truly reflects your style and needs. That's the California Closets difference. We call it practical magic. Book your free design consultation today at californiaclosets.com.